I was always going to get it at some point, but I've jumped in straight away. But was it worth getting? Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm the man they call Pixel Paul. Thank you for pressing play once again. Welcome to this video. This is a look at Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered and my initial thoughts on that game. So there's a bit of, I don't want to say controversy about this game, possibly a little bit of discontent, is that the word? You know, it came out, the original game, in 2017, 7 years old. Does a 7-year-old game as good as Horizon Zero Dawn need remastering? Well, possibly not. But that being said, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the remaster itself. So, a bit of background. Horizon Zero Dawn. So, if you've seen previous videos of mine, especially sort of like my top 10 games video, you will know that I have a huge amount of love for Horizon Zero Dawn, the original game. 2017 this came out, PlayStation 4. I got it, I'd say a couple of weeks possibly after release date. And I must admit, the first time I played this, it was a bit of a weird one. It was a bit of a weird how I sort of developed my kind of love for this game in a way. So I played it for a bit, and I'm not the world's biggest open world game fan, if you like. I can either take them or leave them, and you know, there's some really big hitting, big name modern day classics that are open world games, and they just don't seem to do it for me. But for whatever reason, I don't know whether it was that mix of old and sort of futuristic kind of setting for Zero Dawn. Yeah, I just wanted to play it. But the first, I'd say probably 3 weeks of playing this game, maybe a little bit less than that, 2 weeks, I must admit I couldn't quite get into it. I was playing it, but I've just found it a little bit, I don't know, I just wasn't quite sure about it. And I think I went away on holiday, so left it for 2 weeks. No, I think I stopped playing it and I started to play something else. Then we went away on holiday for 2 weeks, and then came back and went back to it. And from that moment, I was absolutely hooked. So I don't actually know what the sort of trigger point was. Something just must have clicked in my head, and I thought, do you know what, I'm really starting to enjoy this game and love it. And I actually spent a good part of probably, and this will sound weird, 3 months playing this game in a way, on and off, because, you know, I only, as I do now, only sort of have an hour or so each night maybe to play games. But I did in the end clock up nearly, I think it was about 120 hours playing this game. And you're probably thinking, how can you spend 120 hours playing this game? Well, I don't know, but I did. But yeah, so Horizon Zero Dawn, I was actually going through a little bit of a patch in my life where things possibly weren't going quite right. I think I was going through a bit of a gaming lull at that point as well. Certainly wasn't sort of collecting games like I do now. So my enthusiasm for gaming was on the wane a little bit at that point too. But yeah, this game sort of really helped to turn things around, and I really got into the PlayStation 4 after playing it. So Horizon Zero Dawn, the original game, is quite sort of special for me, and I absolutely love it. I know back in the day, in general, reviews for it were pretty good. Well, I say pretty good, they were really good, I think, the reviews for it. I know it does kind of split opinion with people. I think a lot of people like me have maybe tried it and then couldn't get into it. So yeah, I can kind of get that, I can understand that. And I do kind of get that as an open world game, Zero Dawn is quite sort of, I don't want to say simplistic, but it's not the most sort of difficult game in terms of the things that you do in it. You know, there's the crafting and the sort of merging of weapons and upgrading weapons. It's not particularly fiddly. You know, I think of games like possibly Witcher 3, which I couldn't get into. You know, things like games like that. You've got to really learn how to sort of navigate menus and learn about different potions and all that sort of thing, whereas with Zero Dawn it's probably a little bit more basic, and that's probably where some of the criticism comes in with it. There's other elements to the game which, you know, are not perfect as well. I know some of the sort of traversal maneuvers, you know, climbing up climbing up hills and that sort of thing, is not brilliant, you know. So it is a game that, you know, it's not completely faultless. But for me personally, the original Zero Dawn, absolutely loved it and still do. So we're going back to, what was it, the end of September, and it was a PlayStation State of Play, and I remember it well because I was watching it whilst messaging It's Mitchy on Instagram at the same time, because we were watching it at the same time. And as soon as like the opening part of the trailer for the remastered version came up, straight away I said to him, "That's Horizon. I can tell straight away that is Horizon Zero Dawn." So it was a bit of a surprise. And like I've said before, you know, it's a 7-year-old game. Did it genuinely need a remaster? There's a whole further sort of discussion about remasters in general, which I won't go into in this video. I may do a separate video on, you know, the whole sort of industry at the moment of remastering games. But as soon as I saw that, my initial reaction was, I need that. I want to play that. That was the initial reaction. They did then announce as well that, you know, you could do the digital upgrade. So there were options there. But as the time sort of went, you know, came nearer to the release date, I was sort of thinking to myself, well, when these remasters get announced and when they come out, I do tend to wait. I usually wait for a bit of a price drop. I did for The Last of Us Part 1. I'm still waiting for the price drop on Last of Us Part 2. But in general, games that are remastered, I do tend to wait. But this time I haven't. So I suppose the only question was whether I was going to do that digital upgrade and upgrade that PlayStation 4 version for £10, or whether I wanted a physical copy, because I'm a physical collector, as that kind of, you know, gives it away. So I was still umming and ahhing about whether to get it or whether to wait. And I suppose the bit that maybe ticked me over the edge, if that's the phrase, I got a voucher basically for £25 for Argos. So I sort of weighed it up and I thought, well, the recommended retail price pretty much everywhere at the moment for it is $44.99. Obviously it only came out the other day, so there's no price drops particularly. $44.99, got a £25 voucher there. It'll cost me 20 quid. It'll cost me 20 quid. If I wanted to get the upgrade digitally, you know, it cost me 10 quid. So an extra 10 quid, I'm getting the physical version. I know I'm spending the voucher, but, you know, it's not real money, that is, in a way. It is, but I know. So I thought, you know, for 20 quid, I'm just going to get it because I do love the game and I want to give it a go. I'm going to get it at some point. And to be honest, when I bought games digitally in the past, I've always ended up buying them physically in the end anyway. So it's just stupid money for me to spend because, you know, as far as or as long as possible, I will always buy physical games. If in the future consoles they all go to digital only, fair enough. I still want to play games. I am a gamer, but I'll carry on collecting old stuff. But yeah, in the future, if it goes digital, that's the way it goes. There's not much you can do about it. But anyway, so I got Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, of course. I think I was always going to get it. But anyway, so there it is. Beautiful cover. Do love that cover. Possibly a bit better than the original cover, if I'm honest. So those are the two. You've seen this all before, obviously. The backs are quite sort of similar with the same sort of, what do you call it, headline on the top, Earth is ours, no more. Yep, they're both the same. I had to check then. So yeah, that's the physical copy. Disc is quite nice there. There is actually a insert for a voucher for a digital art book. I probably won't ever cash that in. The inside sleeve is quite nice as well if you've not seen it. Nice little bit of new sort of artwork there. So that's quite cool. So as I said, I am a physical collector, so it's nice to get. It is nice to get a physical copy of it. It means I've always got it. I'll always have it. So yeah, that is the game, and that's how I've managed to pick it up. So the game itself. Well, I'm not going to use this as a review for the game because I think everybody knows about Horizon Zero Dawn. Everybody knows how good it is, or people have made their minds up about the game already. So I'm not going to review Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, but I am going to give you my sort of thoughts on the early progress that I've made through the game.
well-made weapon. Arana will be happy to have it back.
So just to go back a little bit, so Horizon Zero Dawn, the original version of it, believe it or not, I've only actually ever played it once. I played it with that 100 hours playtime and never quite gone back to it, but I've always felt like I should go back to it. The only time I did go back to it was when I played the Frozen Wilds DLC, so I went back to the game to play that as well. And I remember spending a couple of hours sort of going back through some of the old map to sort of, you know, get myself back into the groove before going into the Frozen Wilds. So that's the only time I sort of went back to the game, but I haven't played the full game for, well, the original came out in 2017. I think the DLC was 2018, so you do the math. So yeah, I haven't played Zero Dawn since. So in all honesty, I can't remember. I know this sounds weird, but I can't remember the sort of intricate details of that original playthrough. But I do remember what it looked like, how it sort of handled, and I remember the sort of main big points and some of the storyline from it as well. So in terms of the remaster, I suppose the biggest obvious change is that graphically, you know, there is a massive difference. So I played Forbidden West was it last year or was it the year before? I'm starting to lose track of the time. So I bought Forbidden West. This was the nice like special edition. So I played Forbidden West. I'm sure it was last year, wasn't it? I could be wrong. Obviously the graphical leap from that PlayStation 4 version to this game was, you know, incredible. The world just looks more alive in Forbidden West. And the same can be said with the remastered version of Zero Dawn. From my sort of uneducated eye, if you like, you know, I don't know huge amounts about. I don't really get all of the, you know, this runs in that frames per second or this frames per second. It doesn't really fuss me. I just, you know, if it plays, I'll play it. That's my motto. You can tell certain things though that are different. So in terms of the remastered version, yeah, graphically it looks absolutely stunning. It runs on the PlayStation 5. Absolutely, it seems to run perfectly in my eyes. It seems to run absolutely fine. I would say probably on a par with, you know, the way Forbidden West was done as well. So I think the biggest examples that I've seen so far, and I have only played probably 3 to 4 hours so far, so I haven't gone massively deep into the game. I've not actually hit the proving yet. And by the way, I don't want to give too many spoilers away in this video either, just in case people haven't played it. But I haven't actually gone through to the proving yet, partly because when I played Zero Dawn, I kind of felt like I've probably rushed through that initial sort of part of the map. And I think that, is it Mother's Heart is the name of the sort of first area, and it's kind of where sort of, it's almost like the tutorial section of the game, if you like. Yeah, you learn about the hunting and the stealth kills and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's more of a sort of tutorial area, but I've been trying to just take my time a little bit and enjoy that initial open area, because once you go through the proving, you know, the story really kicks in, the map starts to expand and open, and all the quests start to come flying at you. So I just wanted to spend a few hours initially just going through the game in that initial area, just taking it in a little bit, you know, looking at some of the things that, you know, you're hoping are going to look better and more realistic. And, you know, in that area, you know, the best example I can think of is like the snow on the floor. So in Zero Dawn, from what I remember, snow was snow, and it kind of looked a bit almost like porridge, which sounds a bit weird, which, you know, it probably does in a lot of games on the PlayStation 4. Whereas in the remaster, the snow looks fluffy. I know that sounds weird, but it looks fluffy. It looks like snow. So that was the first thing I sort of really noticed graphically different. The water effects are a lot better as well. Water looks and reacts like water. Again, I'm not going to say what was in Zero Dawn was bad or anything like that, but this just looks that little bit more, not far off sort of photorealistic in some places. So yeah, things like water and snow look a lot better. The whole land at the moment just feels that little bit more organic and real and alive. I know, again, it sounds really weird, but it does. It just feels that little bit more like it's alive, and you know, you're sort of interacting around it. So graphically, yeah, it feels absolutely stunning at the moment. And yeah, just blown away a little bit by it. So what else have I noticed different about the game? Well, the obvious sort of advantages of it being on the PlayStation 5 as well, and it's one of the first things I noticed straight away, was that the loading screens are, you know, so much less and so much more sort of reduced compared to the PS4 version, which they're going to be, but it does make a big difference to the game. I remember sitting through Horizon Zero Dawn, and I don't know whether loading screens counts towards your playtime when you play these games or not. I'm not sure if it actually counts, but there'll be a good chunk of that time, that 120 hours from the original playthrough, that would have been probably for loading screens, because the loading screens for it were quite long in some places. So and that's obviously like when you die or when you fast travel and that sort of thing. But yeah, the loading screens is a big advantage to it. So it zooms through those loading screens pretty quick. So that is a good bonus. The other bonus is the haptic feedback on the PlayStation Pad as well. So on the DualSense, just like in Forbidden West, you feel everything. Obviously, some games on the PlayStation 5 make really good use of the DualSense, and some don't. Some, it's a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a token effort in a way. But no, certainly Forbidden West, it really worked really well with the DualSense pad, and they've done exactly the same with Remastered. The DualSense feels like every sort of stretch of the bow, and you know, when something hits the ground, one of the robots hits the ground, you can feel it in the pad. So just having that extra immersion with the DualSense as well is really good, and another big bonus of the remastered version. So yeah, quite liking that too. The only other sort of things I've noticed so far is I think the sort of cutscenes have been tightened up a little bit. They just look a little bit better. Obviously, I can't remember too many of the cutscenes, but some of the interactions between Rost and Aloy at the start of the game just feel like they have a bit more weight to them. So I don't think they've been changed dramatically, and I don't think the voice acting has massively been altered in any way. I don't know whether it's the facial expressions which have been changed slightly or the body language that's changed, but they just feel a little bit more cinematic. And I think that's probably the thing with the whole game so far, is that it just feels that little bit more epic, a little bit more cinematic. So yeah, cutscenes, I will say that not the voice acting itself, but the movement of the mouths still looks a little bit off. It didn't quite work in the original version. And yeah, the movement of the voice as people are talking, just as now I'm looking at my own voice, my own lips as I'm talking, it just doesn't seem to properly synchronize, if you like. So other than that, as long as you don't watch people's mouths when they're talking, I suppose, you know, you won't particularly notice. But yeah, the only other thing I noticed slightly different in this version was, I think I went into one of the menu screens, and I can't remember which section of the menu screen it was. I think it was possibly resources, and I did spot, and if I can find a screenshot of it, I'll put the screenshot of it. It was like a star with, I can't remember if it was like star rewards or star items or something like that, and already in there was like, I don't know, about 12 different sort of starred items, and it says to sell to a merchant. So I went to a merchant, but there was no way to sort of access those, whatever they were, and they were all things like, I think they were like possibly outfits or something like that. So I don't remember them being in the original game. I don't remember them being in the Frozen Wilds. I don't know if it's something that's kind of carried over from my original game save from the PlayStation 4 version, or whether it's something linked to Forbidden West, which, you know, I've still got the game save for that on it. So I don't know whether it's something linked to that. But there doesn't seem to be any other explanation. Admittedly, I've not actually looked online to see if there's any other explanation as to what they are. But to be honest, if you know, keep it to yourself for now, because I'll just try and find out myself during the game. It's one of those things that might be a bit of a surprise, but it's just something to look out for, possibly. But yeah, I think it was in like the resources menu of the sort of, you know, the options menu screen, if you like. So I suppose the only other big bonus with it as well is obviously you get like the Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. So it includes the Frozen Wild, and it was kind of weird seeing that map, you know, looking at the map for Zero Dawn again, and just sort of seeing the Frozen Wild there from the start. So that was kind of at the top of the map there, all ready to, you know, to explore. Obviously I'm not going to do that straight away or anything, but I remember the first time I played Zero Dawn as well was, you know, looking at the map screen and seeing the sort of area where I was at that point in the game as I was playing it, and thinking, God, this looks absolutely huge. And then it's only when you sort of then pan out and see the rest of the map screen, you think, oh my days, this is going to take me forever to finish. Now I know compared to some of these other open world games, it's probably not quite as big as some of them, but for me it felt like quite a big eye-opener to see the rest of that map still sort of fogged out or greyed out. But, you know, just thinking that small part of, I think, is it the Embrace, the first area, I think that's the region, I think. I'm rubbish with the names of these places and the names of some of the characters and the tribes, but that's one thing I'm going to do when I do go through this run through, is try and take it in a little bit more, you know, sort of absorb the story, so I can sort of know more about the lore of the whole sort of series. So but yeah, the map screen, the only other thing about that map, and that reminds me, is when you press the touchpad of the DualSense, if you keep your finger on the DualSense touchpad, when the map opens, it kind of makes the map go all over the place. And I don't remember that being a particular issue with the PlayStation 4 version, so that's a bit of a downer. But other than that, you know, there's no, I'm struggling to come up with sort of negatives about the game. I personally really just love Horizon Zero Dawn, and so far I am back loving the remastered version of it, and I just can't wait to finish this video and go and start playing it again. But I suppose the big question is, if you haven't played Zero Dawn, you know, back in the day, should you play it? Should you buy the remastered version? So I suppose you got to come from a few different angles with it. If you've never played Horizon Zero Dawn and you fancied trying it, obviously the remastered version of it is the way to go. It's the best way to play it now. There's no question. Would you pay full price for it? No. I personally, if I didn't have that voucher, I think I would have waited. Definitely would have waited. But I would have waited to get the physical copy of it. So if you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn before and you've been thinking about doing it, yeah, I would say go for it. Grab it now and you know, enjoy it. I would say if you're not that bothered about having the physical version of it, what you're better off doing is obviously going and buying a cheap version of the original PS4 copy and just doing the digital upgrade. So that's probably, you know, the best bet. I suppose if you're not 100% sure about it as well, again, probably doing that way is probably the best way to do it. So I personally think I'd almost go in against my better judgment, but as far as remasters go, I'm really happy to have bought it. I've got to say, I was going through a little bit of a gaming lull again, similar to the first time I played it. But I honestly can't wait to get back to it now. So, you know, I've been playing a lot of PlayStation VR recently. That's what the PS5's been used for. Obviously, there's been Astro Bot as well. But again, you know, this has sort of come along just at the right time for me. Yeah, just genuinely can't wait to sort of dive more into this game and sort of absorb it a little bit more this time. So apologies, I have rambled. I have rambled on and on. I should have probably done a little bit more prep, but I just wanted this to be a natural sort of reaction to what I've thought of the early part of Zero Dawn Remastered. I suppose to summarise, if you've never played it before, play the remastered version, give it a go. And get it as cheap as you can. That's the best advice you can give to people. If you didn't like Horizon before, you probably still won't like the remastered version of it. If you didn't like it because of, you know, the sort of presentation or the graphics sort of, you know, that side of it, then maybe the remastered version might sway your viewpoint of it. But yeah, I mean, if you played Horizon Forbidden West and you've not played the first one, yeah, you've got to get that now. So yeah, the whole sort of discussion about remasters in general, we'll possibly do that another day. So yeah, let me know if you've played the remastered version or if you're thinking of getting the remastered version. Get it all in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. I'd love to know what you think if you have started to play it. Has anybody finished it yet? Probably. So it's always the way some people manage to sort of cram it in and just get it finished. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you've enjoyed my sort of little point of view on this game. Special game for me, this one, and that's why I wanted to do a video on it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, if you can hit that subscription button, that would be great. And I will see you next time.